All right, so today we are diving into directed energy weapons.
DWs.
DWs, yeah.
Okay.
Um, this is really fascinating to me because it's like we're living in a science fiction movie.
It really is.
Yeah, and we've got this great article that kind of breaks down, all the different things that are going on.
Yeah, and what's interesting is how fast it's all happening.
Yeah, it's incredible, like how quickly we've gone from these theoretical concepts to, prototypes.
Prototypes and testing.
Yeah, being tested in the field.
Yeah.
So this is really like the future of warfare. We're going to talk about, all the pros and cons, some of the concerns about AI,
Right.
energy consumption, the whole thing. So
Yeah, let's break it down.
let's break it. Okay. So the article outlines three main types of DDWs:
Okay.
lasers, microwaves, and particle beams.
All right.
And, probably most people are familiar with lasers, right? That's probably the most common one that we hear about.
Yeah, those highly focused beams of light
Right.
cutting through things.
Yeah. Incredible precision. The destructive power comes from that concentrated energy.
Exactly. It's like a super-powered magnifying glass
Yeah.
focusing light energy on a tiny point
Oh, okay.
to burn or melt a target.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so what about microwaves?
Microwaves.
I mean, I know they heat up my leftovers, but
Right.
I don't really understand how they work as a weapon.
So think of it this way. Instead of warming up your food, it disrupts electronic systems.
Oh, okay.
High-powered microwaves can fry a circuit board
Oh, wow.
from a distance, essentially disabling a drone or other electronic equipment
Interesting.
without needing a direct physical hit.
So it's like an electronic attack.
Exactly, an invisible electronic attack.
Okay, and then the last one, particle beams.
Particle beams.
This sounds very Star Trek.
Ugh.
What are those?
So imagine streams of subatomic particles accelerated to incredibly high speeds.
Okay.
Like microscopic bullets that can cause damage at the atomic level.
Wow.
Yeah, disrupting electronics, disabling vehicles, even potentially targeting individuals with incredible precision.
That sounds both powerful and terrifying.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and speaking of powerful,
Yeah.
the article really highlights how DDWs have the potential to completely change how wars are fought.
Totally.
So first of all, it mentions instantaneous impact.
Right, speed of light attacks.
Yeah.
Which makes them ideal for taking out fast-moving targets.
Right, like missiles or drones.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So imagine a laser defense system shooting down multiple incoming missiles simultaneously,
Yeah.
each laser beam traveling at the speed of light.
Wow. It'd be like an invisible shield
Exactly.
protecting like a whole city.
A city or a military base.
Yeah. That really does sound like a game changer, especially with, the advancements we've seen in hypersonic missiles,
Yeah,
drone swarms, all that stuff.
absolutely.
Okay, so another advantage the article talks about is precision targeting.
Yeah.
And I think, with traditional explosives, collateral damage is a huge concern. But the idea that you could, focus these weapons with incredible accuracy
Right.
to minimize that is pretty incredible.
You could potentially disable a specific component of an enemy vehicle, say the engine, without harming the personnel inside.
Oh, wow.
So a level of surgical precision
Wow.
that you can't get with conventional weapons.
That is pretty impressive. And also, it's kind of unsettling.
It is.
It's like we're entering this whole new ethical territory
Right.
with warfare.
Right. It's something that needs to be addressed as the technology develops. But
Definitely.
another thing to consider is cost efficiency.
Oh, yeah, that's huge.
So once you build the system,
Yeah.
each shot is really cheap compared to firing a missile.
The article said a laser shot could cost as little as $1.
Wow.
Which, when you think about a missile costing tens of thousands of dollars,
Yeah.
that's a huge
A
difference.
huge difference.
Yeah.
And that cost difference could have a big impact on military budgets and, strategic calculations.
For sure. Okay, so we've got speed, we've got precision, we've got cost effectiveness.
Right.
What about versatility? Like, can you use these weapons for more than just, offensive attacks?
Absolutely. You can use them for anti-missile defense,
Okay.
counter-drone operations, and even electronic warfare.
Oh, wow.
So microwaves, for example, can be used to disrupt enemy communication systems,
Interesting.
jam radar,
Wow.
disable electronics on a wider scale.
So it's like a multi-tool
Yeah.
for modern warfare.
Yeah,
It's kind of hard to wrap your head around.
it is.
But before we get too far into those applications, let's just take a step back and look at, the global landscape. Who is leading the charge in DW development?
Well, the United States is definitely a major player.
Okay.
They've got programs like Lockheed Martin's Helios laser system for naval ships,
Okay.
Raytheon's phaser system for counter-drone operations,
Mm-hmm.
and the Air Force's SHIELD program, which uses lasers to protect aircraft from missiles.
Okay, so the U.S. is heavily invested,
Yeah.
which makes sense,
Yeah.
given their military capabilities,
Right.
global presence, all of that.
What about other countries? Are they trying to catch up?
That's what I was going to ask, yeah.
Yeah, China and Russia are both investing heavily in D2W research and development.
Yeah, okay.
China has reportedly developed advanced laser systems that can target satellites.
Wow.
And Russia has deployed its Peresvet laser system, which can blind enemy satellites and reconnaissance systems.
So it sounds like we're on the verge of a global DW race,
It does, doesn't it?
which is exciting and also a little scary.
Yeah.
Like we're stepping into this whole new era of warfare.
It really does feel like science fiction is becoming reality.
It does.
Yeah.
And I think that...
It's a development that warrants close attention, for sure.
Yeah.
The proliferation of DDWs could have significant geopolitical consequences,
Yeah.
potentially altering the balance of power and increasing tensions between nations.
Like
A modern-day arms race.
It is. But instead of nuclear weapons, we're talking about lasers and microwaves.
Exactly.
It's a scenario that would have been pure science fiction just a few decades ago.
It would have.
And now it's...
And here we are.
Here we are. Yeah. It's giving me some serious Star Wars vibes. But speaking of Star Wars, one of the things that I think is so fascinating about DW is their potential to be integrated with AI.
Yeah, that's where things get really interesting.
It's like Terminator Matrix, like all of it rolled into one.
Right, all the sci-fi stuff we've been watching is coming true.
Yeah, and the article talks about how, these weapons could be linked to autonomous systems.
Right.
Drones, robotic vehicles controlled by AI.
So you could have a swarm of AI-controlled drones equipped with lasers, able to identify and engage targets autonomously.
Whoa, wow.
Or a robotic tank firing precision laser strikes based on real-time battlefield data.
That's wild.
It's a whole new level of automation.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder, like, how will that change the way wars are fought?
I mean, on the one hand, it sounds incredibly efficient. And potentially even safer, at least for the soldiers who would be operating these systems.
Yeah, but then on the other hand, the idea of, machines making life or death decisions on the battlefield.
Right.
That's scary.
It's a valid concern.
Yeah.
And it's something that ethicists and policymakers are really grappling with as this technology keeps advancing.
Like, how do you even begin to program morality into a machine?
Exactly.
And what about the potential for these systems to malfunction.
Yeah.
Or to be hacked and used for, unintended purposes.
Right. It's a huge challenge.
It feels like we're opening Pandora's box.
Yeah. There are no easy answers.
So what are some of the solutions that people are talking about?
Well, the article mentions the concept of human-in-the-loop systems.
Okay.
Which means the AI might identify targets and control the weapon.
Yeah.
But a human operator still makes the final decision to fire.
Okay, so like a safety switch.
Exactly. A human override to prevent the AI from going rogue.
That makes sense. But,
yeah.
I mean, even then, in like a fast-paced combat situation, will that human operator have enough time to make, a good decision?
It's a tough question.
Yeah.
It's a trade-off between speed and control.
Yeah.
And finding the right balance will be crucial.
Yeah, that makes sense. But even with all these safeguards, using AI in warfare just brings up so many ethical questions.
It does.
About, accountability,
right,
unintended consequences.
Absolutely.
So it's definitely something we need to think very carefully about.
Definitely.
Okay, well, let's shift gears a little bit and talk about another really important aspect of DWs, which is energy consumption.
Yes.
Because we all know these weapons require a tremendous amount of energy to operate.
They do.
And that presents some pretty serious logistical and technological challenges.
Imagine trying to power a laser powerful enough to shoot down a missile.
Yeah.
You can't just plug it into a wall socket.
Right.
These systems require massive amounts of energy.
So what are we talking about, like portable power sources?
Efficient energy storage.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. We need to think about the environmental impact of all that energy consumption as well.
Yeah, that's a good point. The article mentioned needing portable power sources to sustain these weapons in the field.
Yeah.
And that just sounds like a huge engineering challenge.
It is.
Are we talking about like next generation batteries?
Yeah, potentially.
Any nuclear reactors?
Right. Yeah.
Something else entirely? Like, what are the options?
Well, researchers are exploring a lot of different things.
Okay.
Advanced battery technologies. more efficient power generation methods.
Okay.
There's even research into wireless power transmission.
Wireless power transmission.
Yeah.
What is that?
The idea of beaming energy to do W's without needing cables or batteries.
Oh, that sounds like something straight out of a Tesla lab.
It does a little
But
bit.
how realistic is that?
It's still early days,
Okay.
but it has a lot of potential.
So you'd be able to power a weapon system remotely
Exactly.
without needing those, like, vulnerable power cables.
Or like bulky batteries in the field.
Exactly. It could be a game changer.
That would be amazing.
It would.
But even if we figure out that whole power issue,
Yeah.
there's still the environmental impact.
Of course.
All that energy consumption can't be good for the planet.
No, it's not.
Are we talking about a massive carbon footprint for DDoW warfare?
It's definitely a concern.
Yeah.
The energy demands of DDoWs raise questions about sustainability
Right.
and the long-term environmental costs of this technology.
So it's not just about making these weapons work.
Right.
It's about making them work responsibly,
Exact.
both in terms of ethics
Uh-huh.
and in terms of sustainability.
It's a whole new level of complexity
It is.
when it comes to military technology.
And it feels like we're just scratching the surface
We are.
of this whole topic.
The conversation about DWs is just beginning.
It is. And I think it's a conversation that we need to have.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It really does feel like we're at a crossroads with this technology.
It does.
You know, on the one hand, it offers so much potential.
Yeah,
But on the other hand, there are some serious ethical and practical challenges.
for sure.
So where do you think we're headed with all of this? Like, are we going to see a future where laser battles and microwave warfare are just the norm?
I mean, it's definitely a possibility,
Yeah.
and it's one that we need to be prepared for,
Right.
but I don't think it's inevitable.
Okay.
The future of warfare is shaped by choices just like any other aspect of human endeavor.
Right. The decisions we make about how we develop and deploy these technologies.
Exactly.
But it's hard not to feel like we're on the verge of something big, with so much research and development happening all over the world.
Oh, absolutely.
It feels like we're about to enter this whole new era.
Yeah, it's a significant departure from traditional weapons.
Right.
And it could potentially reshape the geopolitical landscape.
Yeah.
Alter strategic calculations, even redefine our understanding of conflict.
It's almost like we're writing a new chapter in the history of warfare.
It is.
And the rules are still being written.
Yeah, and as we've talked about, those rules need to address not just the tactical and technological aspects,
Right.
but also the ethical and environmental implications.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's something that's really important to emphasize. We can't just focus on the cool factor of these weapons.
Right.
Without thinking about the potential consequences.
Absolutely.
So let's go back to something you mentioned earlier about, the perception of DDWs as being cleaner or less destructive
Yeah.
than traditional weapons.
Mm.
Do you think that's accurate, or are we just kind of fooling ourselves?
It's complicated.
Yeah.
I think we need to be careful about oversimplifying things.
Right.
DDWs can be more precise.
Yeah.
They can reduce collateral damage.
Right.
But at the end of the day, they're still weapons.
Right.
They can still cause harm, and we can't forget that.
Yeah, the idea that any weapon can be clean, I think, is a dangerous one.
It is.
So it really comes down to intent.
Right. A scalpel can be used to save a life or to take a life.
Right.
It's the same with DWs.
Yeah, we can't just assume that the technology itself will dictate the outcomes.
Exactly.
It's human decisions,
Uh-huh.
ethics,
Yeah.
choices that will determine the future of warfare.
Absolutely.
Really not the tools themselves.
Well said.
Well, that brings us to the end of our deep dive into directed energy weapons.
It does.
It's been a fascinating journey.
It has.
A little bit unsettling at times,
For sure.
but I think it's important to have these conversations.
Definitely.
And I hope our listeners have a better understanding now of this technology.
Me too.
The challenges that come with it,
Yeah.
the opportunities as well,
Uh-huh.
and most importantly, the conversations that we need to be having as we enter this new era.
Absolutely.
So to everyone listening, we encourage you to keep learning about DDWs,
Yeah.
ask questions, challenge assumptions,
Right.
and most importantly, engage in informed discussions about the future of warfare.
Because the choices we make today
Will shape the world we live in tomorrow.
couldn't have said it better myself.